Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 15, The Half-Elf Godkin. The maids were already half away from their seats, prepared to leave at any time. The twins acted like this was just normal, while the elves seemed like they were afraid that the situation was going to get out of hand. Even though he selected this place specifically because he didn't want the elves to feel like that. Board's bookmark for proofing. I am not being modest, that's really the reason why I came here. All of you may continue as usual. Please treat me like you would any other guest. Ha. But to treat a supreme being such as Ains Sama in the same way as others. Ains couldn't be faulted for using underhanded means if it came to this. He cleared his throat and shifted his tone to sound more serious. Shahavi Takidu ha. I am saying that I want to see what this place usually looks like. If you have been diligent with your duties, you wouldn't have to do anything special now, correct? Or are you trying to show me something different from usual because you have something to hide? Shahavi Takidu gulped and made an expression that was filled with resolve. Or that's what it looked like to Ains. A word please, Ains Sama. This Shahavi Takidu, who had been entrusted with this place by the supreme being Amanama Hitatsu, never did a single thing that would cause him shame. Of course. Shahavi Takidu looked puzzled at Ains's instant reply. Even though I have only interacted with you for a short while, I can see that you are devoted to your work and are truly loyal to the ones you call supreme beings. My words just now were quite thoughtless. I take them back and offer my apologies. Ains bowed his head. Boo, Ains Sama. Please don't do that. A supreme being such as you bowing to me. Please lift your noble face. Ains slowly raised his head and looked straight at Shahavi Takidu. Shahavi Takidu. I am glad that you accepted my apology. But I want you to know and understand. I just want to have a look at how you and this place are normally whilst holding a relaxed conversation. Just treat me like a normal guest. Shahavi Takidu grumbled a bit, but he seemingly came to a compromise internally and nodded. Understood. Is that so? That's great. A day may come when we will invite VIPs, important people from other places, to Nazareth. You may display your full talent at that time. I will be relying on you then. Ha. Bob, but something like bowing to the likes of me. My regret at writing you was a large part of the reason why I did that, but you may also consider it as my apology to the Amanoma-san who trusted in you, and entrusted you with this place. Shahavi Takidu made a bitter smile, an expression of defeat at the face of such an explanation. But he immediately returned to his work face. Of course, all of the above was just what it looked like from Ains's point of view. In that case, Ains Sama, I will take my leave to work on the order. Ains watched Shahavi Takidu's back as he left and raised his voice a bit, so that it would reach everyone in the cafeteria. Sorry for the disturbance everyone. Well then, please continue dining, without worry. Aura and the others returned to the table, as if they were replacing Shahavi Takidu. At a few of the tables here and there, the maids started eating again. It felt like the atmosphere was less tense now. It looked like the incident with Shahavi Takidu helped relieve some of the tension. Aura and the others each held their preferred drinks, while Lumiere placed Ains's coffee in front of him. He could smell the coffee's rich fragrance, a mysterious smell with hints of some kind of berry in it. Yggdrasil never had any cross-promotions with brands, but it had a lot of content in it, including foodstuffs. Normal games would probably stop at a simple coffee bean, but Yggdrasil had multiple varieties of them. Each of them was also graded differently, with the ones at the highest grade bringing out the best effects from the food. Therefore, the beans in Nazareth's inventory were of a good grade, and this coffee should certainly be tasty. This is probably what quality coffee smells like. Would it also taste like berries? While feeling sad that his body was unable to taste it, Ains waited until everyone took their seats to speak. Well, let's talk while enjoying our drinks. Two of the elves had melon soda, while the other one had green tea with ice in it. Following Ains's words, they took a sip. The melon soda group blinked in surprise, pressing their hands to their mouths. Their reaction was certainly not a bad one. Wow, so tasty. Sweet. The two who whispered those words quickly emptied their glasses. Ains was counting on this to happen. He spoke gently to them. How about a refill? Ah, yes, please let us do so. The two elves immediately nodded and headed over to the drink section. There was a spring in their steps. It's good that they liked it. Ah, yes. Ains spoke to the remaining elf. She was probably also interested in their drinks, as she quickly finished her tea and stood up. By the way, both of the twins went with cola, and from their expressions, it looked like it was nothing special for them. Many unexpected things had happened on the way, but it looked like the elves had mostly calmed down. They no longer seemed like they would doubt everything he said just because he was an undead. As expected, sweet things are effective. There are no women who would hate sweet things. A woman who can resist sweet things simply does not exist. So Makamachi's sense was correct all along. I thought it was just an excuse for her reckless eating habits. The other two female members of Ains had tilted their heads at that statement, although slimes didn't have necks, but it was not like they denied it either. With the way the elves acted just now, that counted as two things that could probably serve as proof she was not exactly wrong. Well, he still had his suspicions. Now, at last. I have gone through a lot of simulations in my mind, but I wonder if I can get a discussion about the elven country going smoothly. He remembered what they heard from the elves when they met the first time. There was no name for the country of elves that was said to be in the great forest of the south. Albedo surmised that it was because they never had the need to open diplomatic relations with other races. The other nations were far away from it in the first place. As they had no need to identify their land as something separate from the rest, just calling it a country was enough for them. However, it seemed like after being ruled for so long by a king, it was being called a kingdom. This king was supposedly super strong. What his strengths and classes were was something they did not manage to find out. At that point, the elves looked at the twins, probably wondering why they did not know about this. This country of elves was embroiled in hostilities with the theocracy at the present moment, and these elves were sold as slaves after they were captured by the theocracy. What the war was for and when did it start were questions to which these elves had no answers for. It was probably because this country of elves did not have a standardized education system. These elves also did not have any interest in learning about such matters. Although after hearing what they said, it seemed like they were at least instructed on more important skills and knowledge, mostly consisting of stuff about monsters. Maybe they felt that history and similar subjects were not useful enough to be taught. When asked about the dark elves in their country, they replied that although they had never seen them, they do exist. In fact, Or and Mare were the first dark elves they had ever met. Dark elves are likely a minority in the elven country, but it didn't seem like they were persecuted according to these elves. That said, considering the lack of knowledge these elves demonstrated, it was entirely possible that they just didn't know about it. And that was all of it. That was all the information Ains managed to get out of them at that time. He had to be satisfied with such meager information just so that they wouldn't get suspicious. But he had a great excuse for being proactive in asking them now. Patience is a virtue, as the saying goes. Well, I should make a decision first. Should I make the topic about wanting to open diplomatic relations between our nations? Or how about saying that I want to go to Dark Elf Village to find friends for Or and Mare? They would be on guard if the conversation was about something on national level relations. It was easier to make them talk if it was a reason that a normal person could sympathize with. Moreover, Ains need not lie as he was really aiming for the second reason, so it would be easier for him. Ains was a person who could lie as much as he wanted to, but that didn't mean he liked to do so. It was just that he wouldn't hesitate to lie if there was some benefit to be had. It was also better not to lie in case they somehow managed to figure out truth later. That should be the easier way, but I can't imagine how it would turn out if I bring reason up in front of Or and Mare. He was afraid they would feel duty-bound to make friends. In his honest opinion, friendship was something that was formed gradually with people with similar hobbies. He wouldn't call it friendship when someone was ordered to do it. Ains remembered his friends from Yggdrasil, his former guildmates. Those comrades he made from chance meetings and through fate's machinations. It was just that he didn't know if children needed to make friends or not. Ains. Suzuki Satori didn't have any during his childhood, and that didn't cause any problems for him in his opinion. Being that kind of person, the fact that Ains was even thinking about things like making friends was because Yamaiko used to say something to that effect long ago. At the same time, he also remembered Albert responding with, "That's the pipe dream of people who live in a different world than us," sarcastically, laughing at her words. Ains didn't know who was in the right here. In any case, there was nothing to lose by having friends. In that case, how about I stop thinking about it in terms of them making friends and tell them it's about making dark elf acquaintances. Whether they become friends or not, will be up to them. Of course, it's all the better if they manage to make some. With that said, if there was an extreme difference in power and standing between two parties, wouldn't it be a hindrance to the development of friendships? Everyone was equal in Yggdrasil. Ains frowned a bit as some of his friends came to mind suddenly, but he immediately shook his head, clearing away those memories. They probably wouldn't have become friends if they had met in the real world, with its inequalities. With that thought in mind, the first step should be to approach the Dark Elves in the Elven country on equal terms as much as possible. Dark Elves from the Sorcerer Kingdom's top echelon and Dark Elves that are minority in the Elven country wouldn't make for a good match at all. Apart from trying to conceal our status as much as possible, Do all fathers around the world have to think about these things this much? I wonder how touch me, San did it. Maybe I should have asked him for more details. While Ains was worrying about the soon-to-be had conversation, the elves returned back to their seats. All of them went with cola. Oh no, I didn't get my thoughts straight yet. I should not ad-lib everything. But there was no time left. As long as the twins were here, he could only say that this was about opening diplomatic relations. If things wouldn't go smoothly, he could just bring up the idea about making friends as a side topic. Or, maybe, he could spin it as his wish to deepen relationships with the Dark Elves as a part of micro-level diplomacy. Well then, let's proceed to the main topic. The elves who were guzzling their drinks like it was the last drink of their life suddenly stopped. We have established a nation named the Sorcerer Kingdom at present. The plan is to have various races live in coexistence. Some humans, dwarves, goblins, orcs, and lizardmen have already become citizens of our nation. Leaving aside whether or not the elves would approve of this, I want to initiate diplomatic relations with the Elven nation, as well as trade relations. As such, I wish to visit your nation. Would you cooperate with us? Even though it was just an excuse right now, it was not bad to have diplomatic and trade relations with the Elven country. However, there was a critical problem. Ains cannot be the emissary for this matter. Conferring with the foreign affairs of another country and making a treaty to open diplomatic relations was something out of Ains's capabilities.